Welcome to Life It with DVD. Welcome back. Thanks for being here. Today, I wanted to talk about a subject that I feel like doesn't get talked about a whole often, and that is what is it that you will suffer for? So, what do I mean by this? Why does our life have to have suffering in it, right? And that's a good question. A lot of people try to avoid pain, try to go about life without experiencing any physical pain, mental pain, emotional pain, psychological pain, and this includes stress as well. Stresses in these areas. But when it comes down to it, is the way that we are spending our life, the things that we are occupying our time with, that we do with the majority of the day, worth the suffering that inevitably comes from it? And a perfect example for me is, for over a decade of my life, I worked in the corporate world, and it was great, right? It was great while it lasted. It paid the bills. I learned a lot about people, learned a lot about structures. I learned a lot about my own values and what other people in the corporate world valued as well. And these are different things. Without going too far into it, the corporate world was sucking my soul out from under me. And the things that people were willing to deal with in the corporate world, in the workplace, the office, the relationships you have, the type of people that you have no choice but to work with, um, right? You don't choose them, unless you're in a position of power, at the company and you're doing hiring or something like that. But you have to work with these people. You have to do your job, right? I mean, this is what you're being paid for. This is what you signed up for, right? So, is the pain that you experience in your corporate job something that you can tolerate, that you're willing to suffer? Are all of those tiny things that your coworkers do or that your boss makes you do, the tasks that you have, worth what it is that you're receiving in return? And obviously that's usually a paycheck. And that's why people hang on to jobs for so long, because the security or the perceived security that comes with that job. So they're willing to tolerate an immense amount of just psychological BS and emotional BS, and just a lot of things that do not make sense. They logically do not make any sense. Uh, Things that just are structured in ways that don't benefit people, even though they say that they are. Things that have to be done because and they say it's for the customer, but it's actually for the insecurities of management, right? These are just a few examples of just tiny things, though, right? If you can deal with that, if you can deal with those things, and you do that for a paycheck, that's excellent, right? That's amazing, right? Because it's not for everybody. It was not for me. I could not handle that sort of just bureaucracy and stupidity. Um, just everything about it was so illogical, and it created it. It gave me a lot of stress. It gave me immense pain to see how inefficient things were in this environment when there was so much potential for it to be refined and to be better. And ultimately, people were incapable of making it better because of their own, insecurities or emotional issues or psychological mental issues, um, and then would use justification of like, oh well, this is just the way it is. This is how it's always been done. Just things that ultimately don't benefit anybody. Uh, when there was obviously very clear, easy solutions that one could implement to make life better for everybody in the office space in the corporate world. And this ultimately was about just finding win-win situations, and a lot of time people weren't looking for the win-win situation, right? Um, so I found another path, right? I moved into working for myself, trading for a living, and that has not been easy either. However, right, that is the pain, that uncertainty of not knowing what you know how much I'm going to be making, when it's going to come, all the things that come with basically fending for yourself in today's day and age. Uh, all of the things that came with that. I was more willing to be free, to have independence, and to accept that uncertainty that comes with it, as opposed to dealing with just the insanity of the world and other people's psyches, right? And ultimately, this was about freedom for me. Like, I wanted the pain of uncertainty and the freedom than the suffering of having to be under somebody else's decision making that made no sense to me. So this is just one example of my choice in accepting you know pain that is could arguably be greater than what I was experiencing in the corporate world. However, the ability for me to choose that suffering helped me so much psychologically to just say, this is my choice, right? I chose this. And not only that, even after the pain was gone of whatever situation, or it resolved itself in some way, I still would look back at it and say, yep, I would make the same decision. Um, I am happy. I am happy with this trade off. I'm happy with the exchange of, you know, choosing to value myself and my own time and my flexibility for the uncertainty and potential instability of the alternative, right? So this is a question that we have to look at within ourselves, right? Because ultimately, what do we what are we willing to suffer for? That's the question that we need to ask. And I think a perfect example is when you do go through hardships and suffering. When you come out the other end, is there any sort of like, do you see a change? Right? Would you still have made the same decision? Or do you regret that? Like the pain was too much. Um, can you control, you know, what happened to you that caused that pain? If you can't control what happened to you that caused that pain, then, well, maybe you need to go somewhere else. Maybe there is something else you should be suffering for, which will give you purpose in life. Um, and that's kind of what it came down to as well for me, where it was, you know the things I was working for, was it contributing any value um, to anybody, right? And I look at this all the time. I look at it out of the world, and I say, I don't know how people work that job, right? Like, how do you live with yourself when or if that the job that you're doing is really not doing what you think it does, or is helping people that aren't necessarily, the sort of people you want to be helping, right? You want to be rooting for. Um, you know, is the work that you're doing helping other people that are selfish, or is the work that you're doing actually building people up, trying to make them better? And once again, this is a matter of perspective. It depends on how you look at things, your understanding of the world, the knowledge that you have, accumulated, and the experiences that you've had. So there's a variety of ways to view your situation of like, well, what am I willing to work and suffer for? And sometimes the trade-offs are worth it, and sometimes they're not. But you have to go in and reflect and say, is this sucking my soul out, right? Is the work that I'm doing, the things that I'm doing, leaving me more empty at the end of the day? Or can you see, a brighter tomorrow from that pain? Are you seeing things that are just slowly feel like you're learning from that pain, learning from that suffering, and you're taking steps. You're making strategies or tactics to overcome those potential pitfalls that cause that pain and suffering. And if you are taking steps, and if it's working, right, um, you know, that might be your path. That might be the direction that you need to be walking, and there's nothing else that you need to do, right? Besides learning from the situations that you're in, and keep trying to improve yourself and your work as you go. But as I've been saying, right, if it's sucking your soul, if you're feeling more drained, you might need to reevaluate, the path that you're on, and maybe do a little bit of a trajectory shift. So if you want any help, trying to look at what your trajectory should be, and how you might be able to go about it, maybe just trying to look at your own skills, like what is it that you're naturally valued for biologically. I'd love to help you. I have a background in Myers-Briggs profiling as well as human design. These are just two excellent tools for helping to understand yourself, helping to look at the path that you're on and seeing if it's aligned with who you actually are, with where you are at right now, and where you think that you feel, right, that you need to go. Because looking back at the corporate world, I was way off my path, and which is why it has taken so long for me to course correct. But I think that's for a reason. I think that's also, it's helped me learn a lot of different things, a lot of different skills along the way, and also help solidify and become more certain in my vision for going forward. So let me know in the comments what it is that you're willing to suffer for. Why? Why do you suffer for it? Be interesting to hear. So if you enjoyed this video, like or subscribe. Let me know what's going on. And until next time, talk to you later.